time to get on board, and I'll pop across onto the other platforms and make sure that we're going live on both platforms. So, morning, folks. I'm not on Facebook yet. And make sure that. So, right, good morning, folks. Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Andrew. Good morning, Luke. Good morning, Francis. Good morning, Jarrett. Good morning, Austin. Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Lorraine. Good morning, David. Glad to see you on the stream. We'll pop out and have a look to see who's on YouTube. Morning, Sandra. Morning, Vince. Morning, Jim. Morning, Alistair. Morning, Stuart. Morning, Scottish van driver, Ali Watson. SD Witt. Dunk. Brian. Anyway, good morning, folks. It's time to start another week, isn't it? Time to get underway again. Want to thank everybody who joined us yesterday. While we're waiting people getting on board, we're up at 107. And I'll talk a wee bit about it at the end and what we learned from yesterday. Okay. Right, so it's good morning, folks. Welcome aboard. Indy Truck Davey, out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where he does all his writing and studying. Where it is overcast at the moment, rain's forecast, and it's a warm, muggy 17 degrees. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. You want to know what the weather's like where you are? Look at the bloody windy. Well, thank you, Stuart. I'm glad you enjoyed the show yesterday. We hope to do more of that sort of thing on Sundays, and hope we'll get to speak to Sarah next Sunday. But we'll get to that towards the end of the programme. Okay, so let's get into it. Review of the weekend's news of the stories that Davies pulled out to have a look at. Okay, so this is review of the weekend's news for the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th of September 2022. Okay, let's do Friday the 2nd first. All right, so Friday started with a mixed bag in the rags. The Metro has the First Minister's bid to stop new bin strikes. We'll get a wee bit more of that as we get into the report. Or as we wade through the pish that's peddled as news. Right, the only right-wing rag, the field goes on, strikes to shut down hundreds of schools. They don't need to worry about strikes shutting down schools because council's doing that road, believe it or not. I think about reducing school days, school weeks to 3 days because of the energy crisis. It might not be strikes that shuts down schools. It could well be that our council's budgets don't go as far as putting the bloody lights on 5 days a week for kids to go to school. Inflationary pressures and runaway energy costs. There's some councils in England already considering a 3-day school week. And that might end up having to come to us all, actually. A 3-day school week. All right, the Scotsman tells us to expect 18,000 Ukrainian refugees this winter. And the emergency plans are being drawn up to accommodate them. Well, if we have to take in 18,000 Ukrainian refugees, then they're welcome. Everybody needs a safe haven. And I cannot think of a better place in Scotland. Low crime, decent standard of living, great water, great countryside, a great place for rest and recuperation if you've been in the theatre of war. So if we're going to have 18,000 Ukrainians coming this winter, I can't think of a better place for them to be. I can't think of a better place. All right. The Express tells us that the committee looking into whether Bojo misled Parliament and by extension the public is a bad entity and we shouldn't be probing Bojo at all. Naughty, naughty Commons Committee. How dare you look into a criminal Prime Minister? A cheating, lying criminal Prime Minister. So apparently it's move along time. Let's sweep this under the carpet so Bojo the clown gets a chance to make a comeback. All right. What else was in the phony rags? And the Star tells us The Star on Friday was brilliant, folks. The Star tells us that Bojo the Clown has solved the energy crisis, and the main headline was Port Kettle Pratt. Anyway, the idiot, lying, cheating, criminal caretaker at number 10 of the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers tells us to spend 20 quid on a new kettle to save 10 quid a year on our energy bills. Ripping the fish, Tory style. I wonder how much Murphy Richards bunged him to say that. Mental. Anyway, that's really ripping the fish, Tory style. Anyway, it's a bit like the UK government's energy poverty website. I don't know if any of you have ever seen it. It advises you, if you cannot afford to pay your energy bills, to upgrade all your appliances to low energy appliances. I mean, talk about ripping the fish. I mean, the government website, so you can't afford your energy bills, go splash out a fortune and upgrading your appliances to energy efficiency A-grade compliant appliances. That way you'll be able to afford your energy bill. Can't afford your energy bill, but you can afford thousands of pounds to upgrade your appliances. That is what you call taking the piss, Tory style. Bojo was taking the piss with a kettle comment, and the UK government energy poverty site is taking the piss as well, because its advice is to scrap your existing appliances and buy new ones, even though you've no fucking money to pay your energy bill. That's ripping the piss, Tory style. Absolute brilliant. Brilliant. Moving on. Friday, and it's rumoured that the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Nadine Sawawi, is planning a COVID-style tax break to help businesses facing bankruptcy because of rising energy costs. Fucking idiots. More money for the public purse and public services. And by the way, it's deliberate. It's absolutely deliberate. I mean, they could just, with a stroke of a pen, freeze energy costs and they make the big six take the hit. If their other profits are up 5 times already on last year, is that not enough? So, no, let's no regulate the energy market. Let's give tax breaks to businesses and no collect any taxes, hence running down public bloody services. But we know that is the agenda. It is asset strip, run down and sell. That's the agenda of this Tory criminal cabal. And once the asset stripped, run down, and it gets to the sell stage, it'll be the Tories and the criminal cabal that fucking buy it. Everything that we've worked hard for, sweat, tears, all the infrastructure we've put in, the taxes we've paid. Transfer of wealth, folks. Transfer of wealth. But it's Tory. The Tories taking the piss, ripping the piss, Tory style. I am amazed that there is anybody alive in England that they're that thick that they keep voting to self-harm. I mean, they really are, as a nation, psychotic. They're in the middle of the death throes of suicide down that road. How the hell can a people keep voting for self-harm? Wow. Absolutely mental. But hey, ripping the piss. You know, they keep voting in people who sell off everything they worked hard for. And the lives get harder and harder and harder. And by fucking extension, ours day too. Because they're too stupid to bother their arses looking at what's happening round about them. Mental. Absolutely mental. Absolute sadomasochists doing that fecking road. They keep voting for self-harm. Nuts. So anyway, that's the game. Tax cuts means no raise in taxes. That means running down public services. That's the Tory agenda. Run them down, sell them off. Right, also Friday, Bloomberg's released leaked UK Treasury documents telling us that energy giants stand to make 170 billion in profits over the next 2 years, mainly from North Sea oil and gas. Yep. That's your gas and oil stuff that keeps running out. That's your oil and gas stuff that has geologists baffled. because the amount of it in reserve seems to shrink or expand depending on the imminency of Scottish independence or not. That's right, folks, that's that pish we were dealt was running out in 2014 by one lying, scheming, unionist piece of shite called Ian Woods. And he should be strung up for it. But next time round, we will be able to drag him through the courts if he tells lies like that again. Because now he is in public office. He's in the House of Lords. So there you go, folks. 170 billion. Think of what that money would have flowed into the Scottish Exchequer if we'd been independent. Are you? Yes. Yet? Wow. Also Friday, it's been reported that the shitbag unionists that are denying Scottish democracy want to gerrymander the rules of democracy in Scotland to prevent independence. Now, you all heard me say we're at the Gandhi moment, and that's where we're at. That's where we're at. They have no answer, so they're trying to change the rules of the game. It doesn't work. It's never worked in any of the other nations that's become independent of the United Kingdom. It's not going to work here. But there was an interesting piece in the National in Wales over the weekend. And what it basically said in that piece was, most of the countries that broke away from the UK actually broke away because Westminster's relationships with Westminster broke down that far that communication between them just didn't work. So one went to saying why in Westminster couldn't be bothered its arse. So, one way or another it's coming. They know it's coming. We're just at the stamping feet and gerrymandering fucking vote shit. It's not going to wash. And we'll get some of that, some more of that when we get what Mike Russell had to say over the weekend. Alright? But it's not going to wash. Democracy will out. And as I say, we'll talk a wee bit more about the democracy side of things when we get to the end of the show. And that'll have to pertain to what we were talking about yesterday's show. Okay. So there you have it. The big wheeze is we'll just gerrymander the rules to make it impossible for Wales or Scotland to leave the United Kingdom. Well, the breakdown in relationship that'll cause will just see the United Kingdom splinter anyway. The people of England will pressurise their MPs and say, we don't need this shit. Because they still believe we're subsidised junkies. It's all coming together very nicely. Thank you very much. Moving on, Friday, and much to the dismay of the mainstream media and the cuckoos in the nest, the First Minister enters into the industrial dispute between trade unions and the councils. Why to the dismay of the MSM and the cuckoos in the nest? Well, they've been able to portray Scotland as an unruly, litter-strewn shithole in the press, because we all know how the cuckoos in the nest and the press like to talk Scotland down. So they're dismayed because they know the First Minister will broker a deal, and hey presto, end of the day Friday, First Minister's brokered the deal. The trade unions tell the press they intend to recommend the deal to their members, and the First Minister tells the mainstream media that she's had to pull 200 million for the next 2 years out of other budgets, and that means cuts. And that means exactly what Davy said. They should have looked at each other in the eyes and said, whose fucking job's gone? Because that 200 million is coming from other budgets, and that means less services, less jobs in the other areas of government. So, X amount will get the 10% they wanted, and X amount will get the dole. That's the reality of it. First Minister's having to tell us that. She's brokered the deal. Bin strikes are off. Schools and nursery strikes are off until the teachers go on strike. But at this point in time, cuts are coming. We have a fixed budget, as the First Minister pointed out, and this money is coming from other budgets. That means other services will suffer, and people in the other services will lose their jobs. Way it goes. Right, so let's move on to Saturday. They're the stories I picked out for Friday. Okay, so let's move on to Saturday and see what's going on Saturday. All right, Saturday, the third started with one major team in the rags here in Scotland, and that is strikes averted. And that's ordering to the First Minister. The papers are praising the First Minister. Scotsman tells us that averting the strikes means cuts. Well, the First Minister told us that after she'd averted the strikes. So it's not a news flash, is it? The National runs with two headlines, and this is the two. The first one I'm going to talk about is SNP President Mike Russell tells us we need to get a move on and get Indy done. Mike says we must resist attempts by Westminster to delay, divert, or dilute the pursuit of independence. And he's absolutely right. But as I say, we're at that point in time, we're at that Mexican standoff. The people in Scotland have spoken. And Westminster's saying no. There has to be a resolution. There will be a resolution. Whether it be a plebiscite election, whether it be a Scottish plebiscite election, a UK plebiscite election, or a referendum, the will of the people will out, democracy will out. And as we are a social, as Scotland is described as a constitutional democracy, then there'll need to be some sort of plebiscite. And as we were talking about yesterday, you could, of course, have a confirmatory vote after you've declared independence. That's just as viable, unusual, but viable. Normally you'd have an assembly vote or a parliamentary vote within that particular nation they would declare. That's a normal way of doing it, but it's not the only way, as we were talking about yesterday. We could, of course, pursue it through the courts. But we'll find out a wee bit more if Sarah agrees to come on to the stream next Saturday, and we'll find out what their idea is. Sunday. Right, anyway, where were we? The National, that's the first headline. The second headline in the National is praising the First Minister for averting the strikes. Right, the loony right-wing rag the fail says, good news, guilty in bin strikes, bad news, teachers to go on strike. Well, there we go, here we go again. I'm sure the First Minister will sort it. Right. The Record and the other loony right-wing rag the Express, they go on the Duchess of Balmoral to miss Highland Games. Who gives a shite? Anybody give a shite, put your horn up in the comments. So, the Duchess of Balmoral's still got mobility problems and she's not going to make it to the Highland Games, the Braemar Highland Games. Apparently they're sending Charlie along as a deputy. Well, he's next up for the chair anyway, isn't he? Maybe we can rig this one with electricity for him. Right, the Tory graph goes on. Truss's energy plant on day one of her premiership. I read the article. Feck knows what she's going to do. Just said she's going to do something. A wee bit light in details, but she's going to do something. And the Times is hits on the really big story of the weekend, actually. And that is one of the Gazprom pipelines into Europe's been shut down. Absolutely shut down. Russia shut it down. So, no gas come on, but Gazprom went into Europe. And the Russians are saying it's because there's a leak in the pipe. We'll see how long they keep it turned off for. But that sees gas prices in the gas market rocket yesterday. Saturday. But it's not going to help with the energy crisis. That's for bloody sure. But what it does tell us, folks, it does tell us that actually here in Scotland we have great governance and great government. Because Scotland's well ahead of the game. We have already 97% of our households get their energy from renewables. And with the climate crisis, Scotland's a world leader. But it shows you we have good leaders. Because while everybody else is suffering, including, well, actually we're suffering and all, but we're suffering because we're subsidising England and Northern Ireland with energy. And we have the highest energy costs in Europe. But we have, we'll get a wee bit more out further in actually. But it just shows you that our leadership is on the ball. Right, moving on. Where are we? Also Saturday, Diane Abbott gets on the wrong side of her boss, Sir Comrade Starmer, by saying the people of Scotland want an Indie vote and they voted for a pro-Indie parliament, a pro-Indie majority government, then they should have a vote. I guess Diane Abbott's had enough of the front benches and plans to get back to the back benches for a bit of peace and quiet, eh? Because Sir Comrade Starmer, the democracy denier, he'll not be chuffed at what Diane had to say on Saturday, alright? But for me, though, the best and funniest Union story for Saturday was in the Scotsman. Now, according to a lunatic unionist think tank, Scotland should stay in the union because the union will up Scotland's funding as its population wanes and we die off. Fucking mental. It's one of the maddest things I've read in my life. The pitch for Westminster is stay here and we'll give you more funding as you become extinct. I think we'll say no thanks to that one. We'll take our independence. We'll rejoin Europe. We'll have free movement of people. Our population will increase. And we'll not become extinct. We're not going to sit back and take your English gold, which is actually our fucking own money, to watch ourselves die out and become extinct. I mean, that's the pitch for a unionist think tank. Stay in the union, and while you die out and become extinct, we'll give you a wee bit more funding. Fucking mental. I was all about fire laughing on Saturday. Absolutely all about laughing. That's how bright they think we are. Let's just offer them trinkets while they die out and become fucking extinct. Wow. Talk about mental. Aye. Oh, they're getting desperate, and I mean they're getting desperate. Now they're offering us more money to become fucking extinct. Wow. And lastly for Saturday, the mainstream media gaslights the people of Scotland. The Pravda runs a report on Scotland's massive capacity for energy generation, with 1% of Europe's landmass and 25% of its renewable and conventional energy resources. Talk about taking the pish. Grannies riding the bus to stay warm. 97% of our households are heated by renewable energy, and we've got the highest energy prices in Europe. But as I said, we've got good leadership, good infrastructure. Once we're independent, we sort this out in 2 minutes. And we're well ahead of the game when it comes to just transition away from oil and gas. What would be even funnier is when we become independent, these things are very, very important in the world economy at the moment, but we can start to tighten it. We can start to tighten it and force them to go into renewables and force them to leave a future for our fucking children and our children's children. Because at this point in time, we're 9 years away from calamity. 9! So maybe they carry on in Ukraine, maybe just force them to go down the renewables line a wee bit faster. Because there's only 9 years to avert the breakdown of ecosystems and a climate catastrophe, which will see mass migration and warfare. 9 years. Well, talk about ending Saturday on a happy note. Right, let's move on to Sunday the 4th. Sunday started with a mix in the rags, alright. The mail runs with, I've seen all three Tory PMs, and this one won't be the last. First Minister vows on new Tory PM. First Minister reckons she'll be a disaster and won't last long. I think the First Minister's right. The National also features the First Minister, and the First Minister says if Scotland was independent, then she'd have introduced an emergency budget by now. But I'll tell you this, if Scotland had been independent if we took our independence in 2014, we wouldn't be in this fucking mess. Could legislate and new licenses that were being issued, we would have the terms and conditions and new licenses being issued. So, there wouldn't be a need for an emergency budget if we'd have been independent, because with the rocketing oil and gas prices, and the amount of electricity that we export, the Scottish Treasury coffers right now would be fucking bulging. Absolutely bulging. Another wee union bonus for you. The highest energy bills in the whole of Europe, with the base capacity to produce energy in Europe. Talk about how anybody could have voted for this. I don't fucking know. Maybe your education system's starting to fail and all. Are you yes yet? Right, Jesus. Right, let's see what else is going on Sunday. Right, moving on Sunday, and Professor Keith Bell of Electronics and Electrical Engineers at the Uni of Strathclyde warns the UK government, tells the UK government it should be preparing to ration energy supplies this winter. Blackouts are possible, if not probable. So Professor Bell is telling the UK government to prepare for blackouts this winter. But there's a Davy says, if Scotland runs low on energy, then it's being diverted to elsewhere as we overproduce energy. And the wind definitely blows hard in the bloody winter. So if you're having blackouts and it's not an infrastructure failure, that means England's draining our energy away and leaving us in the dark. Right, okay, moving on Sunday. And Big Dog Bozo the Clown tells the Tories to stop the infighting and back the new PM. After all, the quicker the new PM fails, the quicker Bozo will be back. At least so he thinks. Moving on Sunday, PM in waiting list trust. Not nice, but them says she'll fix the energy crisis with a package to help homes and businesses. She blames the energy crisis on COVID and the Ukraine war. Anywho, I read the article, as I said, no fucking detail. So we'll just need to wait till after 12 o'clock today when she's anointed to find out what it is she plans to do. Alright, moving on Sunday. And the First Minister's on the box to be asked how she will work with Truss. On the telly, that is. To be asked how she's going to work with Truss. As the PM, Truss says she'll ignore the First Minister. The First Minister, ever the diplomat, says she'll try. She'll try and work with Truss. You couldn't make it up. Anyway, she also warns that Truss will be a disaster for the whole of the UK. Can't argue much with the First Minister on that one. Truss, no so nice, but damn. Anyway, also Sunday, President Zelensky of the Ukraine says the energy crisis is the price that it needs to be paid to avert a world war. Now, I'm not quite sure where he's getting this from, but as I said, one thing earlier we can see is that we've got good leadership because we're well in front of the game. Our energy isn't produced from burning oil or gas, really. We've got one gas power station, and Peterhead and Stornoway's got an oil powered station. That's it. The rest is renewables, really. So there you have it. Well, we've got a couple of nuclear reactors that are about ready to be decommissioned as well. So there you have it. Scotland's well in front of the game. As I said, I don't know what Zelensky's coming for, that the energy crisis in Europe is the price that has to be paid to avert a world war. Much rather Putin had behaved himself. I'm sure the Russian people feel the same way and all. But would we really go to war with Russia if they cut the pipeline and cut the gas off? Would we? One thing we're learning, folks, is that we've all taken the eye off the ball, and that our nation states are failing, and the governments within those nation states are failing in their primary duty to their citizens. And that is to protect the citizens. But we are seeing that nation states right across Europe and right further afield just haven't sorted out their own food security and their own energy security. We're inter-reliant on big providers. It's a bit like corporate, the way we're relied on corporate giants for everything these days, like Amazon and fucking God knows who else. Well, it's the same in the energy market. There's big players, big nation states that are players, and they are controlling everything. Whereas if the governments in each of these nation states had been looking after their primary duty, and that's to protect the people, then food security and energy security would be fucking up there. And I'm glad to see that we here in the Scottish state are there. We're already there. We have multiple supplies on energy security and our food security. We produce enough to feed ourselves as well. That's good leadership. And then we take by contrast the Muppets down that road. England can't feed itself, can't heat itself, can't bloody educate itself, can't clothe itself, can't do nothing for itself. It's pretty non-productive. The only thing it does sell is a professional services, and it's got itself out of the market for them and all when it left Europe. So, stupid as it stupid does. But food security and energy security, these are primary duties of government. And what we have learned through the Ukraine war is that governments right across the world have failed in their primary duty to their peoples. Well, that's the way it goes, moving on Sunday. And the right-wing Tory cheerleader rag, the Field, has a pop at the BBC for anti-Tory bias. This is brilliant, this. The complaint centres around the comedy current affairs programme. Have I got news for you? They did a bye-bye Boris tribute and did the right take down of Boris on the show, right? Now, the Field says the Tory-run BBC, because you've got to remember, we've already did that a Matless or whatever her name is, stand up at the fringe and tell us that the BBC's under tight control of the Tory party. And here we've got the Fail, the Tory rag, complaining the BBC's anti-Tory just because a comedy current affairs show rips the fish out of Bojo. Anyway, in response, the BBC tells the Fail, hey, have I got news for you, rips the fish out of everybody, not just Tories. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, that was one of the. I picked that one just for pure comedy value, so I did. And moving on Sunday, and it's been reported that Truss intends to set a light to workers' rights and a bonfire of legislation to stimulate the economy. So tax cuts and a bye-bye workers' rights. So bye-bye working time directive. Bye-bye sick pay, holiday pay, maternity and paternity leave. Well, don't say you were the wrong prior to Brexit this would fucking happen. You were told before the vote in 2016 that if we left the EU, workers' rights would be out the window. Well, workers' rights will be out the window. Thank Christ I'm semi-retired. Right, also Sunday, First Minister tells tells us the new PM fiscal plan, whatever they are, will lead to an emergency budget in Scotland. And the First Minister's no optimistic. She reckons the Scottish budget's going to take a slashing again. Way it goes. So that's the subjects I want to pick for the weekend. I hope you guys found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. Well, we have a wee look and see what the rags have got to say now, shall we, this morning? I have no look because, as I say, I like my reaction to the rags to be genuine. All right, so let's have a look. Scotland's paper, PM in waiting and Truss energy bill plan. So the eye has PM in waiting. Truss warns of paying to pay for energy help. Most of Monday's papers carry story on Liz Truss' plan to help with soaring energy bills this winter. The newspaper reports that Miss Truss, who is expected to be confirmed as the UK's next Prime Minister on Monday, is promising to act immediately over the cost of living crisis. I will wait and see. Not that long, I better get motoring. The Scotsman has. Truss vows to reveal her energy plan within a week. What? Well, that's no bad, No wonder Davy couldn't get any details in Sunday's fucking papers, Saturday's papers, or Friday's papers, because it appears she's not got a plan yet. It'll take a week to formulate one. The Looney Rag, the Express has. Truss pledged action on energy bills in first week. I heard that. A body found in hunt for missing Betty's teacher. Right, the Daily Telegraph, which is a cheerleader for the Tories. Truss could freeze bills to avoid energy Armageddon. Well, that would make sense, but I don't see the sensible route being taken. Right, the Metro has. Truss, my tax cuts for rich are fair. Aye, so it is. Poor rich, they're suffering like fuck. Tell that wee Mrs. McGunther that's fucking walking home for a food bank with 3 days worth of rations to feed the kids. The Herald has. Sturgeon slams Truss over changing rules on Indy. We don't have to accept it. You know, they say you have to have X amount. We say, no, we fucking don't. Democracy works this way, And that's how we'll rule the game. These people are just gaslighting us. Absolute gaslighting us. And the National Outrageous Trust plans to alter NDRF rules. She doesn't get to fucking set the rules. Wow! And I don't know why the First Minister's gone easy on this one. She just a fucking tell her straight. Doesn't matter what rule changes she put in. We'll play with the game as the game's meant to be played. And the record Sturgeon verdict on favourite to be new PM. Trust will be a disaster. Absolutely correct. The other loony right-wing rag, the Daily Mail. Thugs let out early to commit hundreds of crimes. Soft touch justice route as criminal deemed fit for release offence again. Well, that happens when you let people out of jail. Sometimes they do re-offend. We're trying our very best to avoid it. And with crime at a 43-year low, I guess it's working. What else we got? Well, we don't have any serious papers after that, so let's get and see what the Star's got this morning. Right, the Star, the Daily Star, he has got £20 a pint. We can't afford to cry on it. Tears for beers. It'll cost a boozing crisis. Apparently, in order to keep pubs open, it's going to cost £20 a pint. There you go. You know, just as well I don't go to a pub, eh? Well, I'm certainly not paying £20 for a can of beer. I just stop. Was that Boris who released? Well, he's definitely a thug and he's definitely a criminal. Right. Now, I want to thank you all for joining the show today. You and figures are brilliant. And I want to thank everybody who joined us in the show yesterday. I want to thank Mark McNaught, Dr. McNaught. So what did we learn yesterday before we move on to the usual stuff? Well, we learned that Scotland's a constitutional democracy. We learned that we all three in the room agreed that there need to be a plebiscite either before or after a decision, basically. And we've learned that the claim of right and popular sovereignty depends on the weight of the people who use it. All right. But we haven't learned how it's going to speed us up getting out of the line, or how we avoid the democratic vote and a constitutional democracy. We didn't learn very much about how the claim of rights going to move us forward. But as I say, hopefully we'll learn a wee bit more about it. Next Sunday, David and I are going to ask Sarah to come on and tell us what it is the Salvo group are doing. And maybe we'll get a wee bit more clarity. As I say, going forward. But what we learned yesterday was that the claim of rights is a powerful thing when people put their weight behind it. How to exercise it in the constitutional democracy, we haven't quite got there yet. Because as far as I can tell, the only way to judge the people's opinions on independence is to have some sort of plebiscite. But as I say, we'll find out if there's other ideas. As I say, we did speak about yesterday how you get more than half the population to sign a declaration and then raise a case in the Court of Session and ask the courts to dissolve the union. I suppose you could do it on past breaches of the union or whatever. It's gathering that sort of signatures and starting that sort of case. And how long did it take? I don't know. I don't really know what it is. But what I do know is that Scotland is a constitutional democracy. And one way or another, democracy will play out. Okay, on to the usual stuff. All right, there is a campaign going on. So, put your partisan politics in your pockets, get your eyes on the prize, learn your how-you-goties, and get out there and win hearts and minds. We only need to win one person out of each. Okay? And Westminster's doing the job for us. All right? Now, whatever way we get, we express the voice of the Scottish people, whether it be a referendum or a plebiscite election of some sort, we'll get there when we get there. As I say, but we're at the standoff. Something has to give. And all this pish about we'll gerrymander democracy and we'll demand that you do this and demand that you do that, we just tell me fuck off. I've been saying that for a long time now. I've never understood why they play within the Westminster game. But I also don't understand how the claim of right is going to get us out of the line without some sort of a plebiscite to put the will of the people into that claim of right. So, okay, partisan politics in your focus, eyes on the prize, get out there and win hearts and minds. Okay, now support the independent media, support Broadcasting Scotland, support Independence Live, support Indie Live Radio, support Caledon Media, support True Radio, support the iScot magazine, support the national newspaper, support independent bloggers and bloggers. And if they have a crowdfunder on the go and you've got a couple of shekels to spare, it's fucking highly unlikely in these days, but if you have got a couple of shekels to spare, throw them in the pot. These people do important work, all right? Health message, and there's 2 bits of guidance left. Face coverings and close bulk spaces, clean surfaces, hands and surfaces regularly. Okay, now it's just guidance, you don't have to, and I notice that not very many people are. Now, if you're a wee bit under the weather, show some social responsibility within your community and mask up and social distance to protect your friends and neighbours. Not just COVID. Remember, all our immune systems are run down. So even the slightest little infection, tummy bug, whatever, it's running a savvy in our stomach, in our bodies at the moment because, as I say, our immune systems are pretty low after being masked up for a few years. Okay, so if you've got the sniffles, you've got something wrong with you, mask up, social distance, show a bit of responsibility for your neighbours, your friends. All right, that's social conscience. And if you're still using NHS lateral flow test, care home workers, healthcare workers, NHS staff, please submit your results so we can keep an idea of how much of this is out there in the community. Okay, that's the first one of the week out the road. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again. And no doubt the big headline tomorrow will be Liz Truss as the new Prime Minister. They say the brown man was never going to win. Never. White was. Racists down that road. Catch you later, folks. Have a nice